Hey guys, welcome back to the experience, the Mac Music Review experience. In this crazy episode, we are asking the age-old question, is the new Black Midi album, Hellfire, a 9 out of 10? Anthony Fantano, the beloved bald man, has dished out another massively positive review, this time for that prog rock experiment. I don't know what type of rock, post-industrial. I literally don't know, bro. Because Black Midi break all of the rules and just do whatever the heck they want. And that is exactly what they did on this new album. And Fantano absolutely loved it, especially after giving their album they released last year, Cavalcade, which I personally loved, an honorable mention in my best albums of 2021 video. I'll link that in the description. I haven't reviewed the album on the channel yet. I need to do that. But I really like that album. And then this album came out, and Anthony Fantano says twice in the video that this album is better, and he makes it a point, like he really emphasizes that this album is better than Cavalcade. And I thought that was interesting. Before I say that Fantano is an idiot or tear into his review, I have to say I just watched his review today. After listening to the album a few times, I watched the review, and it's a great review. There is a reason Fantano is like the top of the game. He's the music review YouTuber, and it's because he's so good at like talking about music and describing it. And especially, I was just really impressed with the way he was able to describe the music on this album, because it is sort of very difficult to talk about and describe because it's so off the walls and so crazy and bizarre. And I just think he did a really good job, and I think you should watch his review for the album because it's a really, really good review for Hellfire, this new Black Midi album. That is to say, I think in a way or two, he is wrong. Not wrong in that Hellfire is a great album. I would also say that this is a really good album, nay, a great album, but that it is significantly better, or I don't know. It's not even, he didn't even give the albums like drastically different scores, but just the claim that this album is better than Cavalcade, and I'll try to kind of explain why, maybe. I say maybe because I myself am not totally sure. As far as misses go, I think Fantano kind of nailed it on the head. The track Eat Men Eat, and this is before watching his review, I was like, the exact same reasoning as him. I think the vocally the song is kind of weak. I think musically it's also one of the weaker tracks on the album, and overall it's just a skip for me. I think I heard it once or twice as a single, and I didn't really care for it as a single. But the other singles on this thing are good, especially Welcome to Hell. That track is a banger. It's absolutely insane. One of the craziest songs they've done. I like it better than the Sugar single. But my issue with this album, and when you compare this to Cavalcade, is I don't think this album has the same amount of highs as Cavalcade did. As far as really high highs go, I would say Welcome to Hell is one of them. I think the song Still is pretty fantastic. My brother really loves that song, and it's one of the songs where they'll go slower, it's longer, it's very interesting, and I really love it whenever Black Midi does slow things down. And they do that again on the song The Defense. They go a little bit in a slower direction, and then it gets a little bit more anthemic and big when the chorus hits, and the song progresses. It gets a little bit bigger as it goes on. But I think when they slow things down and just don't throw absolutely everything at the ceiling all at once, I think their music can be quite effective. And it's also very effective when they're acting crazy. I mean, just look at John L. from Cavalcade, or a couple of the other ones from Cavalcade, Ascending Forth. Cavalcade is such a great album. I'm going to talk about it a little bit in this review. I think every single song is a massive highlight outside of the 2 songs after John L. The album has 9 tracks, and I think 7 out of the 9 are like massive highlights. And the only reason it didn't make my top 10 albums of 2021 is just because there were 10 albums that I liked better, and that it's just not very accessible. It's not an album that I can listen to very often. I really haven't listened to Cavalcade all that much, even though I do really, really like it. It's just not accessible. Black Midi's music in general is not very accessible to me. But this album, in terms of really, really high highlights, it's, like I said, Welcome to Hell and Still, which are back to back, and then everything else is either really good or great. The opening track, the title track, is just a really strong opener in that it just gives you, it's like a taster. It's like a taster for what you're about to get. It really feels like it is an intro track. And I really do like how thematic the album feels. Like some of the songs kind of bleed into each other. I think lyrically this album is the sharpest Black Midi's ever been. And Fantano did a really great job highlighting that in his review, talking about the individual narratives on so many of these songs. Like lyrically, some of these songs just really stand out. Specifically, The Defense and Dangerous Liaisons. Dangerous Liaisons just has an interesting narrative about murder, as Fantano points out. And I think The Defense has an interesting religious twist or narrative that's in commentary and stuff that just, it's just the lyrics, even if you don't know what the singers are talking about, I think they're just really, the lyrics do a really great job of grabbing your attention, which I think is all that they really need to do. And then the final track, 27 Questions, is a dynamic chameleon of a track that really just shows Black Midi doing all of their range in like not even their longest song on the album. The longest song on the album is The Race Is About to Begin, which, as good as the song is, I don't think it really reaches the highs of some of my favorite songs from Cavalcade, or like basically most of the songs from Cavalcade I think are better than the longest track on this album, which is good. It's a very good track. Like, I'm not going to deny it. I just don't think it reaches that highlight. But on that last track, 27 Questions, like I said, it's a great track, I think, to just kind of show and just as a standout, like as a resume. If Black Midi wanted to hand you a resume and say, oh, we're Black Midi, this is what we're all about, and they handed you this song, like I think this is the song that they should hand you, because it's just them doing everything, flexing all of their creative muscles, and it's a big highlight on the album. It's a really good track. All that being said, Hellfire is a really good album. It's a great album, honestly. But I wouldn't give it a 9. I personally wouldn't give it a 9. And I feel like Cavalcade probably is like a 9 out of 10. I haven't reviewed it. I would have to listen to it a few more times. I would have to really kind of formulate my thoughts more concretely before I like give it a score. I couldn't confidently tell you what I would give that album. But I do think that Cavalcade is better, just from my memory, and it's not super fresh on my mind like the way this one is. But I do think lyrically this album is more impressive, because lyrically I do think the tracks are standing out more. I think that's partially because vocally they're really emphasizing the vocals and the lyrics, and this album is supposed to be more lyrical. I also do like how this album is their shortest album. It really does feel super brisk. The album doesn't like drag at all. Like even the long tracks, like The Race Is About to Begin, doesn't feel as long as it really is, because it's just, the album is really quick on its feet. And I really like that about it. 9 tracks, a little bit under 40 minutes. But yeah, I think this is a great album. Using Fantano's score, I would give this like a decent 8. Like a decent 8. Hellfire is a great album, guys. I'm curious. I'm specifically curious as to, is this album better or worse than Cavalcade, or about the same? Like, before listening to this album again today, I was like, they might be the same. But then listening to it and then reflecting on Cavalcade, I'm like, I think Cavalcade is better. I could be wrong. I could listen to Cavalcade tomorrow and be like, oh, Cavalcade actually isn't amazing, or it's, you know, it's not as good as Hellfire, or it's the same as Hellfire. But like, from my memory and from listening to this now, I feel like Cavalcade it does have a slight edge above Hellfire, just in terms of really high highlights. even if I don't love the 2 songs after John L., I think I do kind of love everything else on the album. So I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your arguments. If you think Hellfire is better, please tell me why. Because from what I've talked about this album with some people, and what it sounds like is that people like this album better, like generally like this album better than Cavalcade. But I'm curious. Please let me know, and have a great rest of your day.